How's it going, everyone? Today we're going to look now at the way of how you can now create actions using this particular application like the color reducer. But the end goal of today's video is to look at how you can use typing and refactoring when it comes to use reducers in your React application. Why is that? Because at the end of the day, reducers when it comes to manage several inputs in a particular state. So for example, whether it's computer or human inputs, let's say a particular state needs to handle is when the user is typing or when the user is navigating. Perhaps it needs to actually keep track several other states. So the more a particular input needs to react, or the more an state needs to react to more inputs, the more it makes sense to use a reducer for that. And this is just a fancy function to say, or this is just a function that say, hey, this is I'm receive as the first parameter this state, and the second parameter an option called the action that I'm going to perform to generate a new state to react. And therefore trigger is a rendering mechanism, which after that the user will gonna see that update. So all of this, and in today's video is just to put a practice of how can we do that. So because this is part of this particular code, which is is this one? Is this one, which is now taught by Steve Kinney, okay, the head front-end engineer at Temporal. He previously was the front-end architect at Twilio, which I think that's quite interesting. Interesting that he worked at Twilio as well as SendGrid, Twilio. Okay, interesting. Very, very interesting. Twilio and SendGrid. That's quite interesting as well. SendGrid. SendGrid and Twilio. That's awesome. In Denver, Colorado, and this is Delaware. But their HQ is on San Francisco. That's right. Okay, and SendGrid and Twilio. Actually, both of them are quite similar. One of them is for authentication as an API for SMS. Okay, it's an API for that. Interesting. And then you got another API for email. Interesting. So he worked at several. He's a director emeritus and founder of the front-end engineer program at the Turing School for Software Engineer. Turing School. Interesting. The Turing School. Admission, tuitions, and the kind of thing. Turing School. It's 25,000 for all students. And do you know what is interesting is that another thing that is interesting is that quarterly employment report from when? From 2018. Oh, and they're using this Council of Integrity and Result Reporting. enroll student, publish course length day. Interesting. Have admission questions? Very, very interesting. And the employment report for that in the final quarter here. $69 was 400 was the average salary for new hires. Future proof your career, and then started to change that. 4.7 out of 5. 45% student graduates were connected to a job opportunity by staff or alumni. 59 alumni accepted jobs during Q3. 33 of those job seekers negotiated for better salary and that kind of thing. But that's quite interesting. That's very interesting that they also are using that. That's one of the things that I really love about this. Report policies of the Council integrity in result reporting. This is something that the United States actually can do. A coalition of developer trainers programs who have agreed to common definitions, standard, and a schedule for detailed reporting of student outcomes. Those reports are published twice a year but have a very long data collections and auditing window. And this is something interesting because this at least is actually proving, or according to this council, that you are going, it's actually giving you now outcomes here. That whatever that you're doing is provide you with some outcomes. Which is great, which is the reason why all of us are actually doing this kind of thing. It's because outcomes. We are approved by the Veteran Administration to accept BUILD benefit to support both tuition and cost of living. Veteran benefits. So the point of this, okay, during college, it's like everybody's promise something. Backed by G Combinator. And I get it. During college in Delaware. How it works and that kind of thing. And there's a lot of Turing, people using the Turing, the Turing name. Okay, but the idea here is that by looking at, he were now the front-end architect at Temporal. So he previously worked as front-end architect at Twilio and SendGrid, right? Twilio, and all of these are APIs. So Twilio is an API, and this is the API economy. API economy. Because now Twilio is an API for these authentications, SMS and voice, and email, and now SendGrid is this API for email marketing, similar to MailChimp, but this is not an API, this is now a platform for marketing automation. And SendGrid email API is an email API and email marketing campaigns. Very narrow specific to that. Very narrow specific to that. This is the first time I hear about it. And this is the first time I hear about this. At least I hear about him. Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Email APIs, service like this, sending grid, that kind of thing. For email marketing. Isaac Saldana. And the Tim Jenkins. So, in any case, so he worked at the front-end engine. Okay, so if you take a look at Twilio, which is not for the faint of heart. Okay, for example, Twilio overview or walkthrough. Not only Twilio walkthrough, but also is SendGrid walkthrough. Okay. Yeah, from Twilio, as well as from videos like this, that kind of thing. Okay. But I just wanted to know. Yeah, I'm just gonna mute her. But exactly, it's just now see how this actually is architecture is organized. You know, but as you can see is you have all of these elements here, and each one of them must fetch actually data relevant to that. And you want to improve is the user experience as much as possible. Actually, it is 2 years old, so there is nothing wrong with that. That's right. But exactly, you know, most of the time, all of these SaaS applications are like that. You know, you'll have now is the particular account that have all of these different lists of page that you can navigate through. There's nothing wrong or different to that, you know, as well as all of these different features that you can implement that. And why this is more important to use Typescript than ever. Why this is much more helpful to use Typescript than ever. because you don't need to actually, again, at a high level perspective, you might have an understanding, or you might need to put it down the architecture of your application. Makes sense, makes totally sense. But again, you don't need to actually dive deep into the data pipelines. That's what you actually use Typescript as a way to guarantee that. But it's slowly starting to make sense of all of this. SendGrid beginners tutorial. No, please, no sound. I just want us to get inside of that. But as you can see, it's another SaaS. It's another SaaS, which contains now this particular layer, right? So that's the pattern of front-end developers. You're gonna create is a template, is a front-end, is a SaaS for that. You know, that's what you're doing. And you're gonna provide some nice cool animations or more features, or to render each one of those components as it needs to. But it's pretty much that's it. It's like the entire pattern. The things that can actually is make it quite troublesome. Okay. The thing that can be quite problematic is now what is the data that we're gonna show with this. That's all. So what is the proper data that we are going to show to that, right? Pretty much that. And what are the product that we're gonna build? Because at the end of the day, as a front-end developers, or as a UI especially, we need to actually build and take ownership of this SaaS front-end layer. So this is also a reason why I actually took taking a course from Yifni Ray. I think it is exactly like Yifni Ray, like so. You can see Yifni Ray. That's one of the reasons why I'm taking a course from Yifni Ray, because especially when you started to understand how, when you decide proactively to solve your own problems, physical, mental, then you can solve someone else's problems. And then you find ways to actually see that. You don't ask too much questions. You just find a way to do that. And that can be quite problematic, especially for people that don't want that kind of behavior, don't want that kind of attitude, especially those who are in the monopoly activities and that kind of thing. And again, at the end of the day, the innovation will find its way in. You like it or not. You like it or not. Innovation will find its way in. And there will be people that are going to actually look at that as an opportunity. So, yes, that's interesting. So, the reason of looking at this, hey, do you have the create account, create email, dynamic templating, conclusions, and that kind of thing. So the idea of recap of all of this is as a way to now, again, develop a sense of the reason why we actually are looking at this particular course. What actually is the end goal of this is not only to build this React component with Typescript, or React components in the most performance way, or being able to build React components or React application or production grade React applications, or know much about a particular technology, or advocate to one or another, or be dedicated time and energy to one particular tech stack. It's all about is see what is the end reason, so what is the end goal of using all of this tool as a way to build something. and I think that's what's the most shocking part of as an engineering, because we were trained too heavily to actually is follow orders and uh, no more. You know, when it comes to actually do what it really is all about, which is create applications, creation, which is something that for a lot of artists and athletes they are doing, they are creating. Now, when you take a look at the engineering, uh, and I think that's something that a lot of engineering or the engineering mentality, the mindset is quite not. Um, Again, the huge so the main goal of all of this engineering process, or the end goal of all of this engineering educational system is to actually fit in one of these particular systems. Companies be able to not only maintain that system but slightly to improve, but not to create, because at the end of the day, that's the end goal of this. Can you create this? Are you able to put up practice what you have done and what you say about it? uh, and I think that's quite interesting. Oh my god! So this is now a this is now a mm, self-confronting process, because a lot of people will feel secure and and comfortable on doing this task over and over and over and over and over in an engineering roles. We forget what is what it's all about. What is the true nature of all of this? Pretty much like the reason why you hit the gym, or you eat healthy, or you go out and take some, go out and touch some ground, go out and touch grass, uh, experience the wild nature, that kind of thing. The thing is that there is a reason, there is the natural step or the end goal of all of this, and this is most likely uh, a human challenge, which is create. So that's by looking at the role he did in all of these companies, whether it's temporal. Right now, it's with temporal, right? Which is very cool. It's a very interesting tool, by the way. Temporal IO, exactly. But he previously worked is at Twilio, and now it makes a lot of sense. Now it makes quite a lot of sense. I haven't even let me see the let me check the let me check the I want to see now is a temporal IO walkthrough. And I think it's this. Choreography versus orchestration. Okay. But don't you have, for example, don't you have, for example, a because this is a workshop. Don't you have, for example, here is don't you have, for example, is the playthrough or the walkthrough of that? Mm-hmm. You have a walkthrough that. And by walkthrough I mean is the summer camp how to learn temporal. Mm, uh, this is temporal community and QA. Hmm. Again, I just want to see is the. This was 4 weeks ago. You gotta be kidding me. Mm, temporal walkthrough. But interface. I just wanna take a look at that. No, but I think okay. Okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. After all, after all, okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's, why it doesn't matter? Even though if I don't actually find that, okay, no problem. But the thing is that because he worked at as a front-end architect at Twilio and SendGrid. So Twilio is now this API for voice, SMS, in that kind of services, whereas SendGrid is for the SendGrid is for the uh, it's an email API and for managing your marketing campaign. Both of them are just SaaS, service as a or software as a service, and he create that architecture, which is the front end architecture, which is now how you as a user are going to interact with the application, and that's is all about this. And I know that I'm talking about in circles. uh, mm-hmm. And I get it. Enterprise UI development testing, like that, an Electron, Tailwind CSS utility ads. Let me do that. Design system with Storybook, but web security, yes. Oh, and I get it. But web security, yeah, and I get it. Cookies, season hijacking and injection, store cookies, parameter injections, other type injection, cross-site request forgery, in course and cross-site scripting, content security policy, and other vector attacks. Post message, tab nabbing, and GWT best practice. Okay. Mm-hmm. Design system with storybooks. Again, how old is this? Into 2024. Okay, and similar with with the security here. So what happened here is that uh, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So what happened here is that we are now entering into the realm of what are the things that you need to know as a way to create all of this user interface, and how you can communicate then to that. Mm-hmm. So another mentor here, which is um Ben. Ben, no. Oh my God, is Huff. Oh shit, Scott Moss. And Ben. I think it's Ben. No, it's Jesus. Really? I really forget. React intro. Brian Hall. Jesus. Exactly. Brian Hall currently serves as a staff product manager at Neon, bringing his robust experience in JavaScript engineering to the product, with a rich background that includes being a JavaScript engineering and PM at tech giants like Netflix, Stripe, Snowflake, LinkedIn. The problem with this, all of this, is like it doesn't give you is um, so the thing here is that um, even though that he worked for all of his company, it doesn't tell you what is the role was. I mean, of course, it tell you that it's JavaScript engineering and project management, uh, but it is not that clear. Another interesting person here is Scott Moss, right? So it's Scott Moss. Like this. Now again, he's spent years as a venture investing in an AI startup, building a new features as a network engineer, and founding and leading and dev tool startups. He's a two-time GC founder that loves building things people obsess about, but exactly is build things outside of the grind. Scott loved to game and play basket and spend time with his family out in California. Um, there is another one like Maximiliano Furman. He's an independent freelancer consultant. He's a mobile and web trainer of many books. He's a frequent speaker at conferences worldwide, and he has been widely recognized his work in the mobile web community. He teaches mobile and web performance training since 1996. So the thing here is that even though you will need is to build, so you will need is to build mod up. You like it or not? You like it or not? You will need to build, my friend. You will need to build. Whether it's front-end or back-end, you will need to build. And yeah, that's it. And yeah, that's it. You will need to build. So, because of that, now let's going to actually see is how can we create now this action reducer. I'm quite familiar with this, so it's nothing new to me. The only different thing might be to say is how is the way of doing things or the know-how, which is the reason why why I'm gonna take a look now at this course. Mm. Just FYI, just FYI, for your information, just FYI. Mm-hmm. the holy mode. Okay, let's get into this. Yeah, let's get into this, man. Here we are going to create now, right below of the library here, we're gonna create now is perhaps and here we're gonna say is the colors reducers, or yes, color reducers. Exactly. So once we now add this, okay. So the whole point of today's video is to see how you can starting to add is a reducer, okay, as a way to manage the state of this application. And it's a code that reducer cannot be compiled under isolated models because it is considered a global script file. Add it import or export or NT export statement to make it a model. So that's right, we're gonna make that a model. So chill, please. Exactly. This is one of the things that it tells you here is like, hey, I don't like any empty files. So you either must return that something. Let me actually show you that. Like so. Okay. It's either here telling you, it's like, hey, I don't like empty objects here. I don't like empty files here. You better or import or export something here, or even export this like that. But please export something. This is now Typescript complain about it. So this is great. And now here is when we're going to actually write our actions or our reducer. By first defining is a type. Remember that after all, when you are writing your React applications or in Typescript or any Typescript application, how helpful is to think about in terms of the true language of the language. According to Axel Rossmeyer, shout out to Russell. I'm gonna play the man. Shout out to Russell Rossmeyer. When he described, when he mentioned, is that anytime you're going to write Typescript applications and that kind of thing, it is important to develop this awareness of the two language levels, because at the end of the day, in JavaScript you have the dynamic dynamic level, which is managed by JavaScript, and it consists of codes and value at runtime. Okay, it consists on code and values at runtime, like this. This is the dynamic level here, and the other is the static level, which is managed by Typescript, and it consists of a static type at compile time, which is a static type at compile time. And how important is to think about this, you know? It of course is complaining about this because it says, hey, it's defined but it's not never use it. But the thing is that it's important to develop that awareness of the two level of it's important to develop that awareness of the two level when you're writing Typescript applications. So you have now the dynamic level, where this is when now JavaScript is when you define your code and the value, and in the Typescript this is an static where you define is your type. So because in this particular case we want is to in fact is create the reducers for our input color, or in this case is for this exactly is going to complain about it. Let's say, hey, discounts value, so empty. I really freaking hate this. Okay. Alright, and they say, hey, you should export something. I'm gonna do this. Alright, so let me actually shift to the browser. That's right. So the idea here is to implement now all of this. And as you can see here, as we move on, we're now able to see that. And look at this. It's actually telling that all of the components that actually get rendered. It's actually telling you when you change this, is now updating all of these components down there. Right? And that might sometimes something that you want, perhaps, right? Okay, so in our case, we're going to actually, when we update this, because actually, as you can see, we cannot update anything here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or here. You get the idea. I think we can change that. No. So the idea here is to actually, because the more an state needs to react to inputs, the more it makes to the more sense it makes to create a reducer, which is allows us to manage the state of in a maintainable way. So what we're gonna do is to create that, right? So follow me along. Okay. Need to find this. The tag is this. And we're gonna take a look at this. All right. Update color actions, and that's gonna take the equal sign. Okay. And here we're gonna define is on the go. Here we're gonna define is this one, right? I don't want you to show. No, yes, you do. All right. So here we're gonna define is now is first our types and then the value of the reducers. Okay, that'll be the order here. So you define here the type and say this is the you have now is color from the different types of action that you want to update your state. So you say, hey, this is called update color actions. Specifically, you want to look at that at the end of that. Update RGB. Let's say update X color action. Okay. And because this one is going to define this type here and say this, right? Where now their value must be is update X color, update X color again thing. You must receive some payload, where now the payload here is like this, which is the X color. The X color here again, because they're using now a specific library to actually match that signature. That's the reason why we're doing this. The other type, the other type of action here is the update RGB color action. Okay. And here we're gonna pass and say, hey, the type here we're using is type because this is a convention from Redux when it comes to actually pass an state or an action, and the type will indicate which is the name of this action, what is the type of this action that you're going to update that is gonna update your state. So we got the update RGB color. So update RGB color like that. And here the payload as a way to just match what the library needs to. we're going to say here the RGB here, it'll be is an array that is going to be a number, and a number, right? It's a tuple, as you can see. And now here's when things started to get interesting, because in JavaScript, object plays two roles, whether it's records, when you define, when you have when you have a fixed number of property whose name are known at development time, at compilation time. In each type can have different type of values, where now dictionary is an arbitrary number of property whose names are not known at runtime. So for example, you can say, hey, it will be a string, okay? Whose names are not known at runtime, okay? And their value must be the same. For example, you're going to receive now an array here, which is a specific type of Typescript. An array here of string, arrays of string here, as you can see, right? Because this is when you're going to initialize the value. This is what we want. Here is now a complaint and say, hey, this is not a string. It say, hey, a computer property name is type literal must refer to an expression whose type literal of unique symbol type. A computer property name must be type string, number, symbol of any. Allow manipulation and formatting of text and all. So the idea here is to say, hey, this will be a key of string. Or for example, if you want to define here that you say, hey, this is when it comes to actually, you don't know the name of this, but you know what is the type it is, okay? Which is, it can be any string, okay, like so. Okay, it can be any string here, and it say a computer property name in a type literal must refer to an expression whose type is a literal type of unique symbol. So you've got to be here type of string here, right? A computer name property is a type literal must refer to an expression whose type literal is type of a unique symbol. A computer property name, exactly, because that's what we're doing. A computer property name in type literal must refer to an expression whose type must refer to an expression whose type is literal of unique symbol type. An expression. Okay, an expression must be type of string. Okay. Because this is a computer property. A computer property name in type literal must refer to an expression. Must refer to an expression. String only refers to a type, but it's being used as a value. But I don't want to use that as a value. I want to use that as okay. Okay. How can I define an expression here? Typescript expressions. Okay. Or type expressions. Yeah, like type expressions. So one way to see is that type expressions. Type expressions. Type compatibility, type inference, type expression. Type expressions. Well, let me take a look at this. Exactly. Okay, specifying types via type expressions. Via type operators. Okay, via type operators. The type operator. The two language level versions we explore in there. Type of this. Okay. So it's like we have to say key must be a type of string, for example. An index signature parameter must be string, number, or symbol. Okay, this is now a type expression. Okay, this is how you tell to Typescript, hey, this is a type expression. This is also how you can define now is this type expression. Okay, the thing here is that because we're now writing is our reducers, typing, and understand what is it, how now objects, and then we're gonna see how arrays place in JavaScript, where now objects place two type or yeah, place two roles in JavaScript, whether it is a record where you know is the name, which is a fixed length of name properties whose values are different. Each unique property name has a unique different type, where now in dictionaries you don't know the name that in advance or in development, but all of their values or all of the type values are the same, you know. So this is the subtle difference here as a way to make sense, as to see how all of the things joins together. In our case, we did this just for demo purpose. Okay. So now this is the way of how you can define is a type expression. It's different to a JavaScript expression, which is this. You know, this is a JavaScript expression, and this is now a type expression. So far so good, you know, so far so good. Because as we take a look at this and we understand a little bit more of how can we define this, and after that, arrays in JavaScript plays two roles, whether it's an array, which is now a fixed, which is an arbitrary length of elements with the same type, or it can be a different, it can be a fixed length with different types, elements, okay? In this case, but because the way how now this is, the way how now the library that we're gonna use is working, is accept this as it is, right? So far so good, because now after we define that, because the library that I'm using is exactly. So, for example, like this, and I think this is quite interesting and compelling. So let's now create is a let's now create a reducer, a color reducer Typescript file here, like so, and define some of the yep, and define some of the actions. Couple things here. Objects and array plays two different roles. If you wanna take a look at this, check this out, which is now is this one. Which is now this one. Like this, essentially this. The two language here is here. the other is now how the array, the objects actually plays two different types of that. Alright, and that'll be all with this. And objects. We're not gonna dive deep too much into that, but we're gonna continue to this. Exactly. Now we are defining is the color state, like so, which is the type of that state, which is the color state. Okay. In our case, I'm assuming that this is the state. That must be is a value of what or X color as a string. Okay, they call this like hex string. Okay, as a string, and then we're gonna create now our reducer function. The type color state and the initial state. Okay. Okay. First we type is the type of that state, and now we're gonna create our initial state, which is by exporting that comes as say initial state. Okay, that this will be type of color state. Okay, we're going to create now this object that will contain is what? X string. Thanks Typescript and the language servers to provide me this autocompletion feature. And then we say, hey, we're gonna provide now you with some like this one. You know, it's like, hey, you're gonna provide this initially is the BAD 555. That's interesting that he doesn't have that particular library. So now that we create that initial state, it is time for us to create now the reducer. Export comes as the reducer. We call it this color reducer. That this will be is the reducer from React, that it will take a reducer from React, that it will take a state and an action for that it will take an state, which is the color state, and an action called is update hex allo, because we're going to make things much more simple. We can create a new type to union all of this type as a way to say, hey, is this or this one? There you got it. So we can say is a tape action or color action, and this will be is now the of the X color or the of the RGB color. So now that we passed out to the actions, which is the color actions, all right, that's great. Finally, we were in the static level, and now we are in the exactly, now we are in the JavaScript, the dynamic level, as a way to define now what is the previous states and the action that we're going to receive. So initially here, one of the great things of this is that actually is giving us what we want. So this is now the state and the action, okay, as a way to make it much more predictable. Previous state, okay, so previous state and an action, and then what we're gonna do here is to evaluate this using a switch statement, okay. So once you do this, this switch statement, we want to actually check if the action dot type here match one of this. If this is it, all right. If the action type match is the that's one of the beautiful thing of it. Hex color, thanks Typescript for that, okay. Then I want you to now return is the previous state, the previous state, okay. That was quite interesting that it doesn't actually complain me that. The previous state followed by the action. Why not? Followed by the action dot payload. It's a parsing error. But it's an action. Payload is not like that. Hex string. Here now actually is complaining about this. Previous state, and color actions is the actions of the hex color here, which can be any or hex string. I'm not sure who tell you that this can be any of hex string. For some reason you are assuming that is one or the another. Okay, or instead of doing that, instead of using a reducer here, we're gonna say, hey, this state or that. So now the previous state will be is the state or the color state, and the action will be is now the color actions. All right, and then when I try to get to the action, it's a parsing error here, expected comma, not this, and that's quite interesting. That's quite interesting. That's very interesting. And the action, and you say no, and it's not providing me auto completion here. That's quite interesting. That's quite interesting. Switch doesn't actually work with this. Mm-hmm. For the payload, okay. Mm-hmm. To the X color, and now you pass through that. This is something interesting that you can have access to that. Not here as a way to return that. Alright. So far so good. So no problem. No problem. The other case is when this is not updated RGB color. That's one of the beautiful thing of this. It actually complement that. And since here we need to extract is the RGB feature from the action.payload. Alright. That in this case it properly incorrectly guess that we have now that particular property, which is RGB, and I really love about this. Jesus. Then you can now return is the previous state. I don't know why it doesn't the previous state followed by the RGB like that. And I think here we're gonna return is the X color, right? Is the X color as it is. This is something here is like, hey, but I don't want to rename this in this particular case. Okay, in fact, I want to say it's like, hey, this will be is the hex color. Okay, from the RGB, and now here the hex color I want you to get is this library from color convert for that. RGB dot hex dot RGB, which is the hex color. Okay. Yeah, and if we actually put that, for example, here we say is color like that is the action. If we check now the type, there is no more type here. Unreachable code. So actually it's checking all of this as it is. We say case, right? Actually it doesn't provide any more auto completion because we don't have that anymore. We are already covered all of the default cases. Flying. For real? What? Well, in any case, let me do something here. Well, there is an iPhone there. Personal hotspot. I didn't link any of that. Okay. Wait a single moment. I already have internet. Exactly. Oh. Oh, that's not good. What this freaking dog has done? Okay. And we're back. Okay, we're back. Alright. And we're back. And then we will need to actually use this to say export. Similar for this, export this. Alright. And using our application here, you got to share that. So instead of actually using this, so instead of using now this here, set color, we're gonna use this, hey, what I define here is the, in fact, we're gonna use the reducer, okay, this nice little function here to actually is pass the reducer function, which is color reducer, followed by the initial state, which is the initial state in color reducer. I should have changed that name for that to make it more suitable, but for this case it'll be good enough for that. So as you can see here, this is now returning a tuple where initially will be the state followed by the dispatch function. Okay, we can is now say something like this. We can just get rid of this. Okay, and since we are now guaranteed that we are going to receive our state with the X color, now it's not helping us here, which is interesting. Here this is the color reducer. I don't know why you're not accepting that. And use reducer here, and the initial state. That's quite interesting. Exactly, that you should know the state for that, state and dispatch, as use reducer. The color reducer. Okay. Okay, it's because actually this needs to be, you need to pass the initial state for that. Okay. Okay. You need to pass the initial state for that, and followed by the action. Right, the state call this as a state. Alright, and once you do that, I don't know why it's not, close it, recompile that again, call a reducer here, followed by the initial state, and alright. It was silly me because I didn't define properly the state for that, like so. So now it actually, now Typescript does not complain about it and now provide me the proper hex color type. Okay, human error as usual. You can deconstruct that by using is the hex color here. Alright. Unfortunately, it doesn't do that, which is this is quite interesting because even though this is an state, we know that this state will contain the hex color. Okay, but for some reason, it's thinking that is undefined. You can do something like this. Hey, I want you to infer the type of this, which is color state, which must be hex color, which is that. And for some reason, it's thinking that is optional. Does not exist on type hex color, strings, or undefined. Okay. State is a color state. Okay. And for some reason you are thinking that this is now optional. What in the F is this? So here in this case, we're gonna dispatch this function here. Okay, so by passing is now the type. Look at me, that's actually auto-completing that. Update hex color. Here, you're gonna pass as the payload the value from that. but this must be payload. Payload, it is a hex color with this value. The only thing here is that the X color is like, it might not exist as you might think. Property X color does not exist on type X color streams or undefined. And this is because the color reducer here, for some reason, is thinking that it can be undefined. Even though that I pass in this initial state with this new object here, which contains hex color like this. So the thing here is that for some reason now you are assuming that the initial state is somehow empty, bro. You are assuming that the initial color is empty. For some unknown color state is this. It must be an string. Why in the F is, oh my god. Property X color does not exist on type X color string. Did I define this wrong? This is a type expression. Okay. Holy moly. It's like hex color. But it say that at that moment, right? It say now color can be can exist or undefined. No. No Typescript. I know you're complaining about this a lot of time, but it's like, no, chill. You think that state can be, that's quite interesting. It's because it's the color reducer. You think that it can be null or undefined. I get it. And it's smart enough. Because he's saying, hey, yes. Because he's saying yes. That function that you're passing me, one of their value can be undefined. You're right. That's what now is working as expected. And this work is for the color picker. Where this color picker here, let me actually now inspect into the Chrome extension here. Follow me along here with that. Like this. Hey, there you got it. Okay, I want to know is the component profiler here. The color picker is this one. Okay. So, and you can see, well, actually, we are updating that state properly. Yeah. So, hey, we already update that state properly. Cool. If you want to change that to another color, as you want to. Okay. So, for example, like this one. Okay. When you reload the application, you say, hey, it update that to that particular color, which is great. It's now loading with the initial state, and then we can update that properly. So far so good. It's awesome. Very, very, very cool. Hmm. Okay. So that'll be good. That'll be good. We're not using here is the reducer here. Not at all. In fact, actually, let me create is get. Let me create this repo here. So get init. Like so. GitHub. So well, that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye bye.